Hey there, CJ Math students. Welcome to homework 2.6 and subtract rational numbers. Calculator's okay. It's due Monday. So problem number 1, it says at 7 a.m. the temperature was -8. Obviously, that's a useful piece of information. Writing down -8 in your addition sentence. Between 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. the temperature dropped by 2. Again, another useful piece of information. Dropping by 2 is the same thing as adding another -2 or just saying -2, but I'm going to say plus -2. Between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m., the temperature increased by 4. Again, useful piece of information. That's plus positive 4, so just plus 4. Between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m., the temperature increased by 12. So again, increased by 12, positive word, just plus 12. We don't have to move anything around here because we've got negatives and positives already next to each other. So just two SSAK problems. -8 plus -2 is -10. 4 plus 12 is 16. So basically we're asking ourselves, what is -10 plus 16? Your answer there is 6 degrees Fahrenheit, I guess. What do we say? It doesn't say Fahrenheit or Celsius. Number 3 says the chart below shows the monthly profits of a company named Ice Cream Delights. Over the 3-month span, show what was the company's profit. So first you have to say January, that is 1,000, plus February, which is 500, and then plus March, which ends up being -2,500. So again, we're adding, it looks like 1,500 plus -2,500. So the profits of this store were actually -$1,000 on a very good month. Again, that was DSSM. Different signs, more. We had more negatives. And number 5, a nuclear submarine submerged 845 feet. Submerged means it's underneath the water, so that's -845. Suddenly the submarine descends another 50 feet, so descending again is a negative word, so that's plus -50. And an hour later it ascends 260 feet. Ascending is raising, so that's plus 260. What is the new position of the submarine after ascending 260 feet? So -845 plus a -50 is first. That gives you -895. And then you add 260 to that. That's a DSSM problem. It would be important to label that. That gives you -635 feet. Okay, so those were the word problems. If I were you, I'd pause the video and try and do the even word problems on your own, looking for keywords that mean positive and negative. For number 7, it says evaluate each expression. Please remember, when you see subtraction, you need to KCC. So for number 7, you're going to keep, change. So -1.5 plus a -2.4, and then KCC again. KCC, -2.4 plus a -0.2. So really you're just adding, they're all negatives. So really this is one big SSAK problem. -1.5 plus -2.4 plus a -0.2, right? All the same, so add them up, and that gives you 4.1. Remember, it's negative, keep the sign, right? In number 9, it's a little bit different because we have KCC, keep, change. We have 2 positive numbers and 1 negative number, so it's going to be helpful to add the positives first. So 7.5 plus 6.5, that gives you 14. And so really this problem becomes then -4.3 plus 14. And when you do that, that's a DSSM problem. Different signs subtract more. And so that gives us 9.7. We had more positives than we did negatives. Okay. If I were you, I'd pause and try and do 8 and 10. They're very similar to 7 and 9. All right, backside, it says make sure to find common denominators and then find the sum or differences in each problem. So if I have a -8 plus 2 1/7, the very first thing you're going to want to do in every problem is label it. It's either going to be SSAK, same signs, add, keep, or DSSM. And remember, you only use KCC with subtraction. So write those things at the top, just like I have. So we've got -8 plus 2 1/7. So I could add -8 plus 2. And that's a DSSM, that gives me -6. But then I'm left with -6 plus 1/7. So this is where I need to do that borrowing. So it becomes a -5 and 7/7 plus 1/7. And remember, this is really a negative, so I even want to put a negative sign there. So a -7 plus 1, that gives you a -5 and 6/7. Right, so D is your answer, and then you could always double check that with your calculator, right? In fact, I would encourage you to figure out the answer with your calculator and then backtrack to try and show work. For number 13, this is an SSAK problem. They're both negatives. So first you want to figure out what's -4 plus -2. That gives you -6. And because the whole number was negative, that means the fraction's negative. So negative 6 plus a negative 1/7 is simply a negative 6 and 1/7. You just get to put them together because they're both negative. So B is your answer there. Number 15, you need to use KCC first. Keep, change, change. So this becomes 2 3/4 plus 3 1/6. And obviously we need to find common denominators. So 12. So I multiply by 2 and I multiply by 3. That becomes 2 9/12 plus 3 2/12. And when I add that up together, I get 5 11/12. And they were both positive, so I don't have to worry about any signs or anything like that. So that's A. And number 17, again, subtraction, so I need to use KCC, keep, change, change. That becomes negative 7/4 plus negative 4 1/2. You might want to change 7/4 into a mixed number. Really, that is a negative 1 3/4 plus a negative 4 1/2. And then you might want to change the 4 1/2 to fourths, right? So multiply by 2. So that becomes a negative 3/4 plus 4 2/4. Excuse me, a negative. Got to keep track of those negatives. So that's negative 5 5/4, which the 5/4 becomes, and sorry about the bell there, negative 5 plus, really again this is a negative 5/4. That's really just like a negative 5 plus a negative 1 1/4, right? So that's negative 6 1/4. So A. All right, last one, 19, again, KCC, and this is really where you want to see the trees through the forest. There's something about this problem that's going to make it a lot easier, KCC, and hopefully you see it right off the bat, right? A negative 2 plus a negative 2, that's not 0, that's negative 4, right? So it becomes negative 4 plus 2 1/4. Negative 4 plus 2, that's DSSM, right? That becomes negative 2 plus a positive 1/4, and then we do this whole thing where we want to borrow again, right? So negative 1 4/4, right? So what's negative 4 over 4 plus 1/4, which gives me, a negative 1 3/4. Remember, the fraction is negative. It's really negative 3/4, but because the whole number's in front, we just say negative 1 3/4. All right, that's it. Call me if you have questions.